Hey Teresa, let's take a look at your week 6 final project here. I still think a very strong final project, and one where we're seeing some kind of minor changes from the last version, and an increase in terms of, I think, the clarity in some of the textures, and a really nice sense of perspective throughout, which was the case in the last one. The lighting still feels good. Some cast shadows in place. I think the nice kind of increase in lighting as you get closer to the doorway, which is kind of cool, and then really good architecture, as well. The scene's got a few, I guess, additions or subtractions depending on how you look at it, and I'm not, for me, it's sort of a personal preference, but it's also just kind of how it pertains to the class. I like the version that had kind of the glass here, because it gave a certain appeal and something a little bit different, but it was also a texture that was in the composition, and I think that having multiple textures in place within the scene kind of show off that's one concept that you have down. And I think that the kind of the stippling that's occurring, that's making up the sand, and basically the background area is nice, but I almost liked it more when it was slightly obscured and had that kind of tint to it. I think it could have actually been brought out a little bit more here, where it stood out more rather than it being kind of taken away. So I think you can look at it from saying that it does clean things up a little bit more because you've increased texture in other areas. The couch, for instance, which has a wonderful texture in place now, whereas it didn't before, and things like the floor being a little bit better implemented. But I just kind of liked the way that it was in place before, and just kind of added another layer of depth and overlap to things. There's a few kind of minor things, like the addition of more kind of leaves over here, but how they overlap the wood and you can kind of see through them, and the odd way that it's kind of being built is, to me, I think was better off down here, where it was more modest and you didn't see the leaves kind of being transparent and having the wall behind it being seen through. I think it actually tends to distract me more than it kind of works as a more complex kind of situation. I think even if it was just kind of dealt with in a way where it was kind of just moving straight up rather than in this odd kind of C shape, it could have worked a little bit, I think, better for me. Minor things though, pretty nitpicky, at this point. All the stuff though that I kind of dealt with in the last crit and I thought was working out well, and in the drawing is working out here. I think with the benefit of having the wonderful texture on the couch, that to me just makes the couch that much more interesting. The lighting situation, which is a lot more clear, and having value, that's a lot more clear in place, and just having a scene of a room being elevated by kind of the nice architecture and the ability to kind of open up the interior to the outside, make it, for me, a very interesting final. Add to all of this some great color usage, which feels very tropical, and this just a strong perspective, and I think you've ended up getting a very strong final overall.